Hey there everybody, and welcome to Cathlist. I'm your host, Pete Burak. One of the most dramatic conversion stories is that of St. Paul the Apostle. A complete 360. Wait a minute, no. Complete 180. And since one of his feast days is coming up on Wednesday, we're going to give you a rundown on this fantastic and inspiring saint. Our first interesting tidbit, St. Paul is celebrated on 4 days in the Catholic Church. January 25th for his conversion, February 16th for his shipwreck, kind of an interesting day to celebrate, June 29th along with St. Peter, and November 19th for the dedication of his basilica in Rome. And that, folks, is the first of a dozen facts about St. Paul the Apostle we'll be talking about today. Stick around. Many ancient dates are considered estimates, but we have reason to believe that St. Paul was born in Tarsus, modern-day Turkey, around the year 5 AD. He was younger than Jesus, considering that Jesus was born around 2 AD. While Paul was certainly a contemporary of Jesus, he likely never met him in the flesh. We have no evidence to suggest that they had ever met in person, apart, of course, from Paul's vision on the road to Damascus, but we'll do more on that in a minute. For one thing, considering his extensive writing, you'd think he would have written about it if he had met Jesus in person. Before his conversion to Christianity, St. Paul was a Pharisaic Jew, and a serious one at that. Pharisees believed in an afterlife, angels, and spirits, where their counterparts, the Sadducees, did not. Apparently, he was learned and respected enough in the community to be granted authority to seek out and prosecute Christians, and he did so intensely and violently. St. Paul had a family, fancy that, and a few of them are mentioned through his letters, including his sister and nephew, who reportedly assisted him while he was in jail. Can you imagine St. Paul as a little kid? Then there's a few other possible family members, Andronicus and Junia. It's like Sean Connery. Junia, Jason of Tarsus, Sosipater of Iconium, and Lucius. We know next to nothing about Lucius, except that he was ultimately martyred for his faith, and he has a great name. And now I get to talk about St. Paul's conversion, and this is a pretty neat story, and there are 4 accounts of it existing in the Bible, 3 in the Acts of the Apostles, and 1 in his letter to the Galatians. While he was on the road from Jerusalem to Damascus, a light from heaven flashed around him, striking him blind and knocking him off his horse. And actually, that little part about his horse isn't in Scripture, but commonly referred to. A voice asked, "Saul, why are you persecuting me?" His men saw and heard nothing, so Paul asked the voice who it was, and it replied, "I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting," and told him to continue on to the city. He obeyed, and with the help of his men, made it to Damascus. Once there, they met a priest named Ananias, who was understandably reluctant about taking him in, considering Paul's violent relationship with Christians. But he obeyed when the Lord spoke to him as well. Paul was blind for 3 days until Ananias prayed over him. Paul was baptized and immediately began to preach the Christian message. Over the following 15 years, Paul traveled extensively on mission wherever he could go that was protected by the Pax Romana, which was pretty much the safe parts of the world under the Roman rule. He traveled through Greece, Rome, Sicily, Palestine, Turkey, Macedonia, Lebanon, and Asia Minor. Iris, I said all of them properly. During his travels, Paul was a bit of an Indiana Jones. While he was traveling over the Adriatic Sea, he and his crew of 276 people were shipwrecked off the coast of Malta. Once ashore, Paul began setting up camp, only to be bitten by a viper, the snake, not the car. Luckily, he was able to shake it off before any harm was done, and he was miraculously protected from the effects of the venom. Because of his missions, Paul became known as the Apostle to the Gentiles. And finally, do you know why St. Paul is usually pictured with a sword in a book? Well, he carries a sword because he's awesome. No, that's not it. He carries a sword to commemorate his martyrdom by beheading, and a book to symbolize his extensive writings, which became part of the sword of the Spirit, which is in his writings. Ephesians 6, if you're wondering. All right, that's it for now, folks. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more videos like this. Click here to learn more about Ave Maria Radio, the owner of these lovely studios. And click here if you'd like to learn about the young adult outreach I direct. As always, there are interesting related links in the description for you to check out. Thanks so much for watching Cathlist, and God bless. And since one of his feast days is coming up on Wednesday, we're going to give you a rundown on the best and most fantastic saints. That's not what the line says. Many ancient dates are considered estimates, but we have reason to believe that St. Paul was born in Tarsus, modern Turkey. Before his conversion to Christianity, I just spit everywhere. Good thing you're far away. And now I get to talk about St. Paul's conversion. And this is a really neat story, I think, and 4 accounts of it exist in the Bible. 3 in the Acts of the Apostles, and I held up 2 when I said 3. So let's try that again. Then there's a few other possible family members. What?